For most of American history, being middle class meant something very specific. It meant that if you worked full-time, you could afford a home, take care of your family, and slowly build a better future. Not wealth, just stability. But today, millions of people are doing everything right and still falling behind. They're working more, earning more on paper, and yet living with constant financial stress. So, the question isn't whether people are failing. The real question is, what happened to the system that was supposed to work for them? For decades, the American middle class was considered the backbone of the country. It represented opportunity, predictability, and the belief that effort would eventually be rewarded. You didn't have to be rich to feel secure. A steady job, healthcare, a home, and the idea that your children would have a better future. That was the deal. Today, that deal feels weaker than ever. At this point, the debate is no longer about whether the middle class is shrinking. That part is clear. What matters is why it's happening, and how this slow decline became so normalized that many people barely notice it while living through it. One of the biggest reasons is wages. When adjusted for inflation, median wages in the United States have barely grown since the late 1970s. Productivity has increased, technology has transformed how we work, and expectations have risen. But paychecks haven't kept up with real life. People are not necessarily earning less, but their money buys far less than it used to. At the same time, the cost of living kept climbing. Housing prices surged. Healthcare costs exploded. Education became dramatically more expensive. Childcare turned into a major financial burden. So even when someone earns what looks like a middle-class income, that income no longer provides the same sense of security. The result isn't a sudden crash. It's a constant pressure, a slow squeeze that builds year after year. Housing is a major part of this story. For much of the 20th century, owning a home was the main way middle-class families built wealth. You bought a house, paid off the mortgage, and over time, its value increased. That single asset created stability and long-term financial progress. Today, that model is breaking down. In many parts of the U.S., home prices have risen far faster than incomes. Rent has followed the same trend. For younger generations especially, buying a home feels increasingly unrealistic. Rent consumes a large portion of monthly income, leaving little room to save. Without property, building wealth becomes much harder, and one of the strongest pillars of the middle class weakens. Work itself has also changed. In the past, many middle-class jobs came from manufacturing, long-term corporate roles, and union-protected positions that offered stability and benefits. Over time, automation, globalization, and corporate restructuring reshaped the job market. Many jobs didn't disappear completely. They became less secure, more temporary, and more competitive. The rise of the gig economy brought flexibility, but it also removed predictability. Benefits became optional. Job security became rare, and predictability is essential for a middle-class life. Without it, planning for the future becomes risky, even for people who appear successful on the surface. Education was once seen as the safest path into the middle class. For generations, a college degree functioned like a guarantee. Today, it's increasingly a financial gamble. Tuition has risen far faster than inflation, and student loan debt has become a normal part of adulthood. Many graduates start their careers already behind, carrying debt that delays home ownership, family plans, and financial independence. Education still has value, but it no longer works as a reliable equalizer. A degree alone is no longer enough to ensure stability, and early career mistakes now carry long-term consequences. Healthcare adds another layer of insecurity. In many developed countries, healthcare may be inconvenient or bureaucratic. In the U.S., it can be financially devastating. Even middle-class families with insurance face high deductibles, unexpected bills, and medical debt after emergencies. One serious illness can undo years, sometimes decades, of careful financial planning. This leads to an important realization. The American middle class didn't suddenly disappear. It became fragile. Many people who are technically middle class live with little savings, heavy debt, and constant anxiety about job loss or medical emergencies. On paper, they're doing fine. In reality, they're one unexpected event away from falling downward. Some economists describe this as the working poor in disguise. It's tempting to frame this issue as purely political or to blame one group or one administration. But the reality is more complex. The decline of the middle class is the result of long-term economic trends, technological change, global competition, decades of policy decisions, and corporate incentives that often prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability. No single government created this situation, and no single solution will fix it overnight. This matters because a strong middle class is about more than income. It supports social stability, trust in institutions, democratic participation, and long-term economic growth. When the middle class weakens, societies become more polarized, not just economically, but emotionally. People stop believing that effort leads to progress, and when that belief disappears, instability grows. So, is the American middle class really dying? Not entirely, but it is being reshaped into something thinner, weaker, and far more uncertain. It still exists, but for many people it no longer feels like safety. It feels like survival, and that difference changes everything. The story of the American middle class is not a story of laziness or failure. It's the story of a system that evolved but failed to protect the people holding it up. Understanding this isn't about anger. It's about clarity, because you can't fix what you refuse to see. If this video helped you see the bigger picture, don't forget to like it. If you want more content that looks at America beyond the headlines, consider subscribing to the channel. And I'd really like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the middle class can recover, or has it permanently changed? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.